The council chamber was enormous. It floated in space, a structure made of crystal and metal that sparkled against the darkness. Inside, representatives from 7 different species sat in a circle. They had been arguing for 3 hours. The Terran were not real, shouted Councillor Vexner, his blue scales shimmering with anger. He was a Vidian, a species known for trade and logic. They are stories, myths, nothing more. Across from him, War Leader Crike slammed his forearms on the table. The Kree warrior's red eyes burned with fury. My ancestors fought beside the Terran. The records exist. They were the greatest warriors the galaxy has ever seen. Records can be faked, Vexner said calmly. It has been 847 years since anyone saw a human. If they were so powerful, where are they now? The other council members shifted uncomfortably. This was an old argument, one that never had a good answer. The Serpentine Sarai diplomat, Ambassador Silith, raised her hand for silence. Peace, friends, she hissed softly. Whether humans existed or not does not change our current problem. The Krith Empire has conquered 3 more neutral worlds this month. We must respond. Crike stood up, his massive form towering over the table. My people take what the weak cannot defend. This is the way of the universe. This is the way of bullies, said Councillor Brightspeak, a being made of pure light. The Lumini rarely spoke in council meetings, but when they did, everyone listened. Your expansion threatens peace. The argument continued, voices rising and falling like waves. In the back of the chamber, a young Vidian named Sthal watched quietly. He was not a counselor. He was an archaeologist invited to present findings about the old human sector, but the council had been too busy fighting to listen to him. Sthal clutched his data pad tightly. Inside it was information that could change everything. 3 months ago, his team had been exploring a dead world in what the old maps called the Terran border. They had found something impossible. A human facility intact, powered, waiting. Councillor Vexner, Sthal said, his voice barely audible over the arguing. No one heard him. He tried again louder. Councillor Vexner. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to the young archaeologist. Vexner looked annoyed. What is it, scholar? Can you not see we are in an important discussion? Sthal's hands trembled. I found something on the expedition. We found a human facility. The chamber erupted in noise. Half the council shouted that it was impossible. The other half demanded to know more. Crike laughed a deep booming sound. More fairy tales. Next you will tell us you found their magical earth. I found a black box, Sthal said firmly, his confidence growing. It is a data storage device, military grade. The power source has been running for over 8 centuries. He activated his data pad and a hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a metal cube covered in symbols. The symbols were clearly writing, but in no language the council had seen in hundreds of years. Except they had, in old books, in children's stories about the legendary Terran. This is human writing, Sthal said. I have compared it to every database we have. It matches perfectly with the ancient Terran alphabet. The chamber was silent now. Even Crike had stopped laughing. The hologram rotated slowly, showing every angle of the black box. It was scorched and dented like it had survived a terrible battle, but the lights on its surface still blinked steadily. Can you read it? Ambassador Silith asked, leaning forward with interest. Some of it, Sthal admitted. The language is complex, but there is a symbol on top that I recognized. It is a distress beacon marker. A distress beacon? Vexner's eyes widened. Did you activate it? No, Counselor. It activated itself. When my team approached the box, it woke up. It scanned us. Then it began broadcasting a signal. Sthal pressed another button on his data pad. The chamber filled with sound. It was static at first, crackling and harsh. Then through the noise came a voice. It was strange, speaking in a language no one had heard spoken in centuries, but the translation software worked and text appeared on every counselor's screen. This is Captain Amanda Reeves, United Earth Navy Commanding Officer of the UEN Defiant. If you are receiving this message, you have entered Terran space. We are gone, but we are not dead. We had to leave. Our sun was dying. Our home was ending. We took everyone we could and went into the dark, looking for a new beginning. Do not follow us. The path is too dangerous. But know this, the voice paused. In the background, they could hear other sounds, alarms, explosions, people shouting orders. If you are hearing this, we are coming home. Wait for us. Humanity endures. The message ended. The council chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then everyone started talking at once. It is a hoax. The Terran live. Where did they go? What does it mean? Stal held up his hand. There is more. The black box contained data files. Millions of them. My team has spent 3 months trying to decrypt them. We have only opened a few, but what we found. He swallowed hard. The Terran did not lie. Their star was dying. They had maybe 50 years before Earth became uninhabitable. So they built ships, thousands of ships, generation ships, sleeper ships, experimental faster-than-light vessels, anything that could carry people. Another hologram appeared. It showed Earth, the legendary human home world. Beautiful blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. Then the image changed, showing a massive fleet in orbit. The ships were enormous, some the size of moons. Others were sleek warships bristling with weapons. There were so many that they blocked out the stars. This is the Exodus fleet, Stal explained. According to the data, over 60 billion humans left Earth and its colonies. They went beyond the galactic rim into the void where no one has ever explored. They left these black boxes behind with instructions: do not follow. We will return when we have found a new home. Counselor Brightspeak's light pulsed slowly, a sign of deep thought. That was 847 years ago. If they survived, they would have sent word. Unless they could not, Ambassador Silith suggested. The space beyond the rim is unknown, unmapped. Perhaps they traveled too far to send messages back. Or perhaps they all died, Crike said bluntly. Space is cruel. They were refugees fleeing a dying world. What chance did they have? Vexner stood up, his mind clearly racing through possibilities. Scholar Stal, you said the beacon activated when you approached. Did it send the message to your ship only, or did it broadcast to everyone? Stal's face went pale. It broadcast on all frequencies. We tried to shut it down, but the beacon was too powerful. The signal went out in every direction. By now, it has probably reached halfway across the galaxy. The council chamber erupted again. This was bad. Very bad. If the Terran were real, if they were coming back, every species in the galaxy would know about it, and not everyone would welcome them. Crike's expression changed from mockery to calculation. This beacon, where is it now? On my ship in a secure containment field, Stal said quickly. We brought it here to show the council. Then it must be studied, Crike declared. If the Terran had such technology 800 years ago, imagine what weapons they left behind. The empire that finds these weapons would be unstoppable. Absolutely not. Vexner shouted. This is a matter for the council, not for your warmongering empire. The argument started again, louder than before. Stal looked around the chamber helplessly. This was not what he had wanted. He had hoped the council would come together, would prepare for first contact with the returning species. Instead, they were fighting over weapons and power. Ambassador Silith slithered over to him while the others argued. "You have done well, young scholar," she whispered. "But I fear you have opened a box that cannot be closed. There are species in this galaxy who remember the old stories. Stories of human warships that could destroy planets. Stories of human soldiers who never surrendered. If humans are returning, some will welcome them. Others will fear them, and fear makes people do terrible things." Stal nodded slowly. He had studied the old stories, too. Humans were legends for a reason. They could survive anywhere. Frozen worlds, burning deserts, toxic atmospheres. They could eat almost anything. They healed from terrible wounds. And when they fought with a creativity that terrified their enemies. There was one story Stal had found in the oldest archives. It was about a human soldier who had been left behind on a hostile world. Everyone thought he was dead, but 3 years later, he walked back into his base. He had survived alone on a planet where everything was trying to kill him. When asked how he did it, he had simply said, "Spite." That was humanity in one word, spite. They refused to die when they should have. They refused to give up when everyone else would have surrendered. If such beings were returning to the galaxy, what would they be like now? 8 centuries of exile in the dark void beyond the rim. What had they become? The council meeting ended with no agreement. Vexner wanted to form an expedition to the old human sector to find more black boxes. Crike wanted to send Krith warships to claim human technology. The other counselors all had their own ideas. Finally, they agreed to meet again in 1 week to decide what to do. As the counselors left, Stal gathered his things. His data pad suddenly beeped. A message from his ship. He read it quickly and his blood went cold. "Counselor Vexner," he called out, running after the Vidian. "Counselor, wait." Vexner turned, looking tired and annoyed. "What now, scholar?" "My ship, the black box. It is gone." "Gone? What do you mean gone?" "Someone broke into the containment lab. They took the black box and killed 2 of my crew members." Stal's voice shook. "Security footage shows Krith soldiers." Vexner's eyes widened in fury. He spun around looking for Crike, but the war leader had already left the station. The counselor pulled out his communication device. "All security forces, this is Counselor Vexner. We have a theft and double murder. Seal all docking bays. No ships leave this station." He looked at Stal grimly. "It is too late. Crike's ship left 10 minutes ago. He has the beacon." Stal felt sick. The Krith Empire had the only working piece of human technology in the galaxy. They would tear it apart to learn its secrets. They would find the coordinates to human worlds, human facilities, human weapons. "What do we do?" Stal asked. Vexner looked out at the stars through the crystal walls of the station. Somewhere out there beyond the rim of the galaxy, billions of humans might be alive. They might be coming home. And the first thing they would find was a galaxy that had stolen from them and killed in their name. "We prepare," Vexner said quietly. "We prepare for war because whether the humans return or not, the Krith Empire will use this as an excuse to expand. They will claim they are protecting the galaxy from the returning Terran, and species will believe them because they fear the legends." The awakening. Far away, at the edge of the galaxy where the stars ended and the void began, something massive stirred. Sensors that had been dormant for centuries suddenly activated. A signal had been received. A signal from home. In the command center of a ship the size of a small moon, alarms began to sound. Crew members who had been in deep sleep for decades began to wake. Computer systems came online one by one until the entire vessel hummed with power. On the bridge, a captain opened her eyes for the first time in 50 years. She looked around at her crew, at the stars visible through the viewing screen, and smiled. All hands, she said, her voice rough from long sleep. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the UN Perseverance. The beacon has activated. Earth is calling us home. She stood up, her legs shaky but strong. Wake the fleet. We are going back. Across the void, thousands of other ships received the same signal. Millions of humans began to wake from their long sleep. The Exodus fleet, scattered across hundreds of light years, began to move. They turned their massive ships around and pointed them toward the galaxy they had left behind 8 centuries ago. Humanity was coming home, and the galaxy was not ready. The Krith warship Blood tore through space at maximum speed. In the ship's secure laboratory, War Leader Crike stood over the human black box, watching his scientists work. They had been cutting, scanning, and analyzing the device for 2 days. So far, they had learned nothing. Well, Crike demanded, his forearms crossed impatiently. What secrets does it hold? The lead scientist, a smaller Krith named Vexter, looked nervous. War Leader, the technology is unlike anything we have seen. The power source alone is impossible. It should have died centuries ago, but it still runs at full capacity. The materials are stronger than our best armor, and the encryption. He gestured helplessly at his screens. It changes every time we try to break it. Crike growled low in his throat. Are you telling me our entire science division cannot crack the code of a species that vanished 800 years ago? The Terran were not like us, War Leader. Their technology followed different principles. Their computers think in ways ours do not. Vexter tapped a screen showing streams of data. But we have found something. Coordinates. Hundreds of them, scattered throughout the old Terran sector. Crike leaned forward, his red eyes gleaming. Colony worlds perhaps, or military bases, supply depots, ship graveyards. Vexter's voice grew excited. The Terran left in a hurry. They could not take everything. If even a fraction of these locations contain working technology, then the Krith Empire will become unstoppable, Crike finished. He straightened up. Decision made. Send these coordinates to the fleet. I want a warship at every location within the week. Take everything you find. If anyone tries to stop you, kill them. Vexter bowed. It will be done, War Leader. But there is something else. The beacon is still transmitting. We cannot shut it off. It is sending a signal into deep space beyond the galactic rim. So, let it broadcast to empty space. That is what worries me, War Leader. What if the space is not empty? The scholars research. Meanwhile, back at the council station, Stal sat in his small quarters, unable to sleep. His data pad was covered in files about human history. He had been reading for hours trying to understand the species that might be returning. Humans were strange. They came from a world that should have killed them. Earth had violent weather, dangerous predators, and diseases that evolved as fast as cures could be found. But humans did not just survive Earth. They conquered it. They spread to every continent, every environment, from frozen poles to scorching deserts. Then they went to space. In just a few centuries, humans had colonies on dozens of worlds. They terraformed planets, built stations in asteroid fields, and sent exploration ships to the edges of the galaxy. They were unstoppable until their suns started dying. Stal pulled up a file marked "The Last Days." It was a fragment recovered from a human data core written by someone named Dr. Sarah Chen, a scientist on Earth. The translation was rough but readable. Asterisk, the sun is killing us. We thought we had time. We were wrong. The models are clear now. In 50 years, maybe less, Earth will be too hot to support life. We cannot fix a star. We cannot stop what is coming. So, we must run. The Exodus initiative is our only hope. We will build ships, as many as we can, and we will leave. Not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. We go into the unknown because there is no choice. We go together, or we die alone. I pray that we find a new home. I pray that one day our children's children will return and find a galaxy that remembers us kindly. Asterisk. The file ended there. Stal felt a strange sadness. Humans had not chosen to leave. They were forced out by nature itself. Everything they built, all their colonies and stations and ships, they left behind. Billions of people packed into whatever vessels they could build and sailed into the darkness beyond the galaxy. What must that have been like, to leave everything behind knowing you would never see home again? His data pad beeped. A message from Counselor Vexner, come to the emergency council meeting now. Stal ran through the corridors of the station. When he reached the council chamber, he found chaos. Every counselor was shouting. Holographic displays showed star maps covered in red warning markers. Order! Ambassador Silith hissed, her voice cutting through the noise. We cannot help anyone if we are fighting amongst ourselves. The Krith have attacked 6 research stations in the past 2 days, Counselor Brightspeak's light flickered with anger. They are hunting for human technology and they are killing anyone who gets in their way. Not just research stations, added a Kix representative speaking through thousands of synchronized voices. They have occupied 3 neutral worlds. They claim they are protecting the galaxy from the human threat, but they are really building an empire. Vexner saw Stal enter and gestured him forward. Scholar, tell them what you told me about the final days of Earth. Stal stood before the council, his voice shaking slightly. I have been studying the recovered files. The humans did not leave because they wanted to. Their son was dying. They had no choice. The Exodus Initiative was a desperate attempt to save their species. Why should we care about their desperation? Asked a tall counselor, his bureaucratic tone cold. That was 800 years ago. If they survived, they are no longer the humans of legend. They are something else now. That is what frightens me, Stal admitted. The files described the Exodus fleet's destination. They went beyond the galactic rim into what they called the Dark Zone. There are no stars there, no planets, no resources, just empty void for thousands of light years. If humans survived out there, they did it in the hardest environment imaginable. The council chamber fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. Humans had been tough before they left. What would they be like after 8 centuries in the void? We must prepare defenses, Crike's voice suddenly boomed from a holographic projector. The war leader had joined the meeting remotely. The Terran will return as conquerors. We must be ready to fight them. You only say that because you want an excuse to take human weapons, Vexner shouted at the hologram. Your empire is the real threat. My empire will be the galaxy's shield when the humans arrive, Crike replied coldly. You will thank me when. Every screen in the council chamber suddenly went dark. Then they flickered back to life showing the same image, a star map. At the edge of the galaxy where the rim met the void, hundreds of red dots appeared. Then thousands. Then tens of thousands. What is this? Ambassador Silith asked, her voice tight with tension. A technician's voice came over the intercom, panicked. Counselors, we are detecting massive fleet movements at the galactic rim. Unknown vessels, hundreds of thousands of them. They are on approach vectors toward galactic space. The council chamber erupted. Some counselors demanded more information. Others called for immediate military mobilization. A few simply stared at the screens in shock. Stal watched the red dots move across the map. They were not moving randomly. They were organized, disciplined, advancing in precise formations, and they were fast. Faster than any fleet should be able to move. How long until they reach inhabited space? Counselor Brightspeak asked quietly. At their current speed, 3 weeks, the technician replied. 3 weeks. Vexner repeated numbly. We have 3 weeks to prepare for first contact with a species we thought was extinct. A species that has survived 800 years in the void. What do we do? Before anyone could answer, one of the screens changed. Instead of the star map, it showed text. Human text. The translation appeared below it. Asterisk, to the civilizations of the Milky Way galaxy. This is the United Terran Exodus Fleet. We are the descendants of Earth. We left 8 centuries ago to escape a dying sun. We survived the void. We found new worlds. We built new homes. Now we are coming back. We seek peace. We seek to reunite with the galaxy we left behind. But we will not be threatened. We will not be attacked. If you greet us with friendship, we will share what we have learned. If you greet us with hostility, you will learn why we survived when we should have died. We arrive in 3 weeks. Be ready. Humanity endures. Asterisk. The message ended. The council chamber was completely silent. Then Crike's hologram spoke, his voice darker than before. They dare threaten us. We should mobilize the fleet. Hit them before they reach our worlds. Are you insane? Vexner shouted. We know nothing about their capabilities. They crossed the void, something no one has ever done. They have technology we cannot imagine. And you want to attack them? I want to strike first before they strike us. Enough. Ambassador Silitha's voice was sharp as a blade. War Leader Crike, your aggression has already caused enough damage. The Council will decide how to proceed, not your empire. Crike's hologram flickered with anger. The Council is weak, always talking, never acting. While you debate, I will be preparing my fleets. And when the Terran arrive, they will find the Krith Empire ready for war. The hologram vanished. Crike had disconnected. Around the chamber, the councillors looked at each other with worry. The galaxy was splitting apart even before the humans arrived. Stal raised his hand hesitantly. Councillors, if I may. I do not think we should fight the humans. I think we should try to understand them. Explain, Vexner said. Everything I have read about humans shows they value courage and honesty. They respected species that stood their ground even in defeat, but they hated deception and cowardice. Stal pulled up another file on his data pad. There is a human saying I found in the archives, asterisk speak softly and carry a big stick. Asterisk it means you should be peaceful in your words but strong in your capabilities. The humans are doing exactly that. Their message was peaceful but they showed us their fleet first. They are giving us a choice. A choice between submission and destruction, muttered the TC counselor. No, Stal said firmly. A choice between partnership and isolation. Think about it. They could have come back in secret. They could have scouted our defenses, studied our weaknesses, and struck without warning. Instead, they announced themselves. They gave us 3 weeks to prepare. That is not the action of conquerors. That is the action of people who hope for peace but are ready for war. Counselor Brightspeak's light pulsed thoughtfully. The young scholar makes a good point. But we must also consider what the humans have become. 8 centuries in the void would change anyone. They may not be the species we remember from legends. Which is why we need to send an envoy, Ambassador Silith suggested. Someone to meet them at the rim to talk before they reach our worlds. We need to understand what they want and what they are capable of. I volunteer, Stal said immediately. Everyone turned to look at him in surprise. I have studied human culture more than anyone in the galaxy. I understand their history, their language, their values. Let me go. Let me talk to them. Vexner shook his head. Too dangerous. If the humans are hostile, you would be killed. And if they are not hostile, I might prevent a war, Stal countered. Is that not worth the risk? The council debated for hours. Finally, they agreed. Stal would lead a small diplomatic mission to the galactic rim. They would meet the human fleet and attempt first contact. If the humans proved friendly, wonderful. If not, Stal's ship would send a warning before it was destroyed. As the meeting ended, Stal went back to his quarters to prepare. He had 3 weeks to study everything he could about humans. 3 weeks to figure out how to talk to a species that had become legends. He did not feel ready. But then, who would be? Across the galaxy, War Leader Crike sat in his command chair watching reports from his fleets. They were stripping the old human colonies of everything valuable: weapons, data cores, ship parts, power generators. His scientists were learning fast. War Leader, Vexter said, approaching carefully. The black box has revealed more data. I think you need to see this. Crike looked at the screen. It showed images of what the humans had faced in the void. Enormous creatures that fed on energy. Rogue artificial intelligences that had gone insane. Spatial anomalies that could tear a ship apart. And through it all, the humans had survived. The final image showed a human warship, scarred and battered, but still flying. Painted on its hull were words in human language. The translation made Crike's blood run cold. Asterisk, through the void, we endure. Through the darkness, we fight. Through the impossible, we survive. Earth will rise again. Asterisk. For the first time in his life, War Leader Crike felt something he had never expected to feel: fear. The humans were coming, and they had survived things that would have destroyed any other species. What would beings like that do to a galaxy that had stolen from them? He pushed the fear aside. Fear was weakness. The Krith did not know weakness. But in his heart, he wondered if starting a war with humanity was the biggest mistake he would ever make. 3 weeks passed like a heartbeat and an eternity at the same time. Stal stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Peaceful Dawn, watching the stars at the edge of the galaxy. His crew was small, just 20 beings from different species. All volunteers, all knowing they might not come back. Sensors are picking up something, the ship's pilot announced. She was a young Sesrai named Kesra, chosen for her steady nerves. Multiple contacts, very large distance. They're at the rim barrier. Stal gripped the railing in front of him. The galactic rim was not a physical barrier, but rather the edge where stars became rare and space turned dark. Beyond it was the void, the empty space between galaxies where nothing should exist. How many contacts? He asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Kesra checked her instruments. Her scales paled. Sensors say. They say thousands. No, tens of thousands. The computer keeps increasing the count. It cannot keep up. On the main viewing screen, the stars began to change. Lights appeared in the darkness. Small at first like distant candles, then brighter, closer, growing larger with each passing second. By the ancient lights, whispered the ship's engineer, a lumina named Shimmer. What are we seeing? The first ship emerged from the void fully. It was massive, easily the size of a small moon. Its hull was dark metal, scorched and scarred from centuries of use. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing with soft blue light. As it moved, it seemed to shimmer like reality bent around it. Then came another. And another. Generation ships that looked like floating cities, their surfaces covered with gardens and domed habitats. Warships bristling with weapons that Stal could not even identify. Vessels that seemed to be made of crystal and light. Ships that looked organic, grown rather than built. Kesra, Stal said quietly. Please tell me the count. The pilot's voice shook. Current count is 94,000 vessels, still increasing. Stal, this is not a fleet. This is an entire civilization on the move. One of the enormous generation ships moved toward them. It was so large that their entire vessel could have fit in one of its docking bays. Stal watched it approach, his mouth dry with fear and wonder. A communication signal pinged. Human language filled the bridge, followed immediately by translation software. Asterisk, unknown vessel, this is the UN Perseverance, flagship of the Exodus fleet. You are the diplomatic mission we were told to expect. Please identify yourself. Asterisk. Stal stepped forward, gesturing for the communications officer to open a channel. This is the Galactic Council vessel Peaceful Dawn. I am Stal, representative of the Council, sent to welcome you back to the galaxy. We come in peace. There was a pause. Then the voice returned, warmer this time. Asterisk, well, that is a relief. We were worried we might have to fight our way back home. Permission to dock. Our ambassador would like to meet you face to face. Asterisk. Of course. Yes. Please dock with us. The massive generation ship launched a smaller vessel. But even this smaller ship was 3 times the size of Peaceful Dawn. It approached slowly, carefully, and attached to their docking port with barely a shudder. Stal and his crew gathered at the airlock. They did not know what to expect. Would the humans be changed, mutated by the void? Would they even look human anymore? The airlock opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. For a moment, there was only darkness. Then, a figure stepped through, and Stal got his first look at a real human. She was tall with dark skin and hair tied back in a practical style. She wore a uniform of deep blue with silver trim. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent, scanning the room quickly before settling on Stal. She smiled, and it reached her eyes. Hello, she said in perfect galactic common language. I am Ambassador Elena Vasquez, representing the United Terran Exodus fleet. Thank you for coming out to meet us. That took courage. Stal bowed in Avidian style. I am Stal. It is an honor to meet a human. Your people are. You have been gone so long. We thought you were extinct. Some thought you were only myths. Elena's smile grew sad. We have been called many things over the centuries. Myths, legends, monsters, ghosts. But we are just people trying to survive like everyone else. She looked around at the crew, nodding to each of them. May I come aboard your ship? I would like to talk somewhere more comfortable. They gathered in the ship's small conference room. Elena sat across from Stal, her hands folded on the table. Up close, he could see scars on her hands and arms. Old scars long healed. This was not a diplomat who had lived in safety. I suppose you have questions, Elena said. So many I do not know where to start, Stal admitted. But first, are you really planning to return peacefully? Your message said you would not be threatened, but you wonder if we are conquerors, Elena finished. She nodded slowly. I understand your concern. Let me tell you what the past 800 years have been like for us. Maybe then you will understand who we are now. She pulled out a small device and activated it. Holographic images appeared above the table. Stal saw ships traveling through absolute darkness, their lights tiny against the void. He saw generation ships so old that gardens grew inside their corridors. He saw children being born who would never see a real planet. Only the metal walls of their ship homes. We left with 60 billion people, Elena explained. We lost half of them in the 1st century. The void is cruel. Ships broke down. Life support failed. We encountered things out there that should not exist. Spatial anomalies that could tear apart a vessel. Energy beings that fed on our power cores. Ancient automated weapons left behind by dead civilizations. The images changed, showing battles. Human ships fighting against impossible things. Stal saw one human vessel ram itself into what looked like a living black hole, sacrificing thousands to save millions. We learned to fight in ways we never imagined, Elena continued. We learned to adapt. We learned to survive on nothing but hope and stubbornness. And eventually, after 400 years of searching, we found worlds. Empty worlds far beyond the galactic rim. Worlds with no stars, warmed only by tidal forces and geothermal energy. We settled them. We built new colonies. We started to grow again. 400 years, Thal breathed. An entire civilization lived and died in ships, never seeing land. 16 generations, Elena confirmed. 16 generations of humans who knew Earth only from stories and pictures. But they remembered. We all remembered because we made sure to remember. Every child learned about Earth, about the galaxy we came from, about the hope that one day we would return. And now you have, Thal said. But why come back? You found new worlds. You could have stayed there, safe and isolated. Elena's expression hardened. Because we received your beacon signal, the one from the black box. When we left instructions, do not follow. We will return. But someone took one of our beacons. Someone stole from our dead worlds. And worse, we detected weapons fire. Ships fighting over our technology. We realized the galaxy we left behind might destroy itself over our scraps. She leaned forward, her voice intense. We came back because it is our responsibility. We left these things behind. We cannot let them cause wars. And also, her expression softened. We came back because Earth is our home. It has been 800 years, but our sun should have stabilized by now. We want to see our home world again. We want to walk on real soil under a real sky. Even if it is just once before we die. Thal felt tears in his eyes. He understood now. These were not conquerors. They were refugees finally coming home after an impossible journey. The galaxy has changed, he warned her. There is a species called the Krith. They are warlike. They have been stealing human technology from your old colonies. Their leader, war leader Crike, he thinks you are coming back as invaders. He is preparing to fight you. Elena's face grew cold. How many has he killed? 14 researchers dead in 6 different attacks. 3 neutral worlds occupied. Hundreds of civilian casualties. Elena stood up abruptly, walking to the window to stare out at the fleet. I hoped we could come back peacefully. I really did. But I have learned one thing in 800 years of survival. Bullies do not stop because you ask nicely. They only stop when you show them the cost of their actions. You would go to war immediately upon returning. No, Elena said firmly. I would end a war before it truly begins. The Krith think we are soft targets. They think we are myths that can be pushed around. They are wrong, and they need to learn that lesson before more people die. She turned back to Thal. I want you to take me to your council. I will speak to them. Show them who we are. But I also want you to send a message to this Crike. Tell him to withdraw from the neutral worlds. Tell him to return what he has stolen. Give him one chance to do the right thing. And if he refuses? Elena's smile had no warmth in it. Then he will learn what 800 years in the void taught us. He will learn why humanity survived. The message was sent. Crike's response came within the hour. It was a video transmission showing the war leader on his command bridge surrounded by his warriors. So the Terran finally show themselves, Crike laughed. You demand I withdraw? You demand I return your ancient junk? I think not. I think instead you should surrender. You have been gone too long. This is our galaxy now. If you want to enter it, you will bow to the Krith Empire. Elena watched the message, her face expressionless. When it ended, she looked at Thal. He has made his choice. Now I make mine. She activated her communicator. Perseverance, this is Vasquez. Execute Protocol Shepard. Asterisk, confirmed. Ambassador. Protocol Shepard is active. Asterisk. Stal felt the peaceful dawn shudder. What was that? Look, Elena said, pointing out the window. The human fleet was moving. The massive generation ships stayed back, but the warships advanced. Thousands of them moving in perfect synchronization. Their formations were beautiful and terrifying, like a school of predatory fish. Where are they going? Kesra asked from the bridge. To the nearest Krith military installation, Elena said calmly. Krike has a forward base in the Kelter system. Population 2,000 soldiers. It is his staging ground for raids into neutral territory. We are going to shut it down. But that is an act of war. No, Elena corrected. It is an act of justice. Krike declared war when he killed 14 innocent researchers. We are simply ending it. The journey to Kelter took 6 hours. When they arrived, they found the Krith base surrounded by 30 warships. The human fleet appeared at the edge of the system, and immediately the Krith vessels opened fire. Stal watched in horror as energy weapons and missiles filled the space around them. But the human ships moved like nothing he had ever seen. They dodged and weaved, their movements too fast, too precise. And when they fired back, their weapons were devastating. Blue beams of light that passed through shields as if they did not exist. Missiles that split into hundreds of smaller projectiles, each one finding a target. Weapons that seemed to freeze ships in place, leaving them floating helplessly. In less than 10 minutes, all 30 Krith warships were disabled. Not destroyed, disabled. They floated in space, their weapons offline, their engines dead, but their crews alive. Then the human ships surrounded the military base. Elena's voice broadcast on all channels in every language. Krith warriors of the Kelter base. This is Ambassador Elena Vasquez of the United Terran Exodus Fleet. You have 10 minutes to evacuate. After that, we will destroy your base. You may take your wounded. You may take personal items, but you will leave all stolen human technology behind. This is your only warning. Stal watched the base on sensors. For 5 minutes, nothing happened. Then, escape pods began launching. Hundreds of them fleeing toward the disabled warships. When the 10 minutes ended, a single human vessel fired one shot at the base. The weapon hit the main structure and the entire facility simply vanished. Not exploded, vanished. Where there had been a military base, there was now only empty space. What was that? Stal whispered. Quantum disintegrator, Elena said, her voice sad. It breaks apart matter at the subatomic level. We developed it to mine asteroids in the void. Turns out it is also very effective at removing structures. We have not destroyed a single living being today, but we have removed Krike's ability to wage war from this sector. A new message came through. It was Krike, and he was screaming with rage. You will pay for this. The full might of the Krith Empire will crush you. We will, Elena cut the transmission. She looked tired. Record a message for him. Please tell him this, we came in peace. We asked for peace. He chose violence. This is the consequence. We have disabled 30 of his warships and destroyed his forward base without killing a single soldier. This is mercy. If he continues to attack us or anyone else, next time, we will not be so gentle. The choice is his. She turned to Stal. Take me to your council. It is time for humanity to formally return to the galaxy, and we have much to discuss. As the peaceful dawn turned toward council space, Stal looked back at the disabled Krith fleet. The humans had just demonstrated power beyond imagination, and they called it mercy. What would they do when they were truly angry? The council chamber had never been so full. Representatives from every known species crowded around the viewing screens, watching as Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood before the council. Behind her, on the massive holographic display, the human fleet hung in space like a second galaxy. Honorable councilors, Elena began, her voice calm and professional. 847 years ago, humanity left this galaxy not by choice but by necessity. We left behind our colonies, our stations, our homes. We left behind the civilization we had built. We went into the void hoping to find salvation. Today I stand before you to announce that we found it. We survived and now we wish to return. Councillor Vexner stood, his blue scales catching the light. Ambassador Vasquez, on behalf of the council, I welcome humanity back to galactic space. We have many questions, but first I must address the incident at Kelter. You destroyed a Krith military installation. We did, Elena confirmed without hesitation. After war leader Crike refused to stop his attacks on neutral worlds and to return stolen human technology. We gave him a choice. He chose poorly. You killed no one, asked Ambassador Silith, her serpentine body coiling with interest. We killed no one, Elena repeated. We disabled their warships and gave them time to evacuate their base. Every Krith soldier survived. We could have killed them all in seconds. We chose not to. That should tell you everything about our intentions. Crike's hologram flickered to life at one of the council seats. The war leader's forearms were crossed, his red eyes burning with anger. You humiliated my warriors. You destroyed a military installation of the Krith Empire. This is an act of war. You declared war first, Elena said coldly, turning to face him. When you killed 14 researchers. When you occupied neutral worlds. When you stole from the dead. We simply responded. And we showed remarkable restraint. Restraint? Crike laughed, but it sounded forced. You think because you spared some lives, you are merciful. You are weak. A true warrior kills their enemies. Elena walked toward his hologram, her eyes never leaving his. War leader Crike, let me tell you something about weakness. Weakness is attacking unarmed researchers. Weakness is stealing from the dead. Weakness is bullying those who cannot fight back. Strength is having the power to destroy your enemy and choosing not to. We have that power. We showed you that power. Do not mistake our mercy for weakness. The chamber was silent. Even Crike seemed taken aback by the intensity in Elena's voice. The council offers humanity 3 seats, Vexner said, breaking the tension. Given your population and your demonstrated capabilities, we believe this is fair. We accept, Elena said immediately. But we have conditions. First, all human technology taken from our old colonies must be returned. Second, the Krith Empire must withdraw from the neutral worlds it has occupied. Third, we want access to Earth. We need to see if our home world can be restored. These are acceptable terms, Councillor Brightspeak said, their light pulsing with approval. We will arrange for expeditions to Earth. As for the stolen technology and the occupied worlds. No. Crike's hologram blazed brighter. I will not bow to these returned refugees. The Krith Empire answers to no one. Several other councillors began speaking at once. Some supported Crike, fearing human power. Others condemned the Krith Empire's actions. The chamber descended into chaos. Sthal, sitting in a corner with the other observers, watched Elena carefully. She stood perfectly still as the council argued, her expression unreadable. He had spent enough time with her to recognize that look. She was waiting for something. After the council meeting ended in deadlock, Sthal was assigned as official liaison to the human delegation. He spent the next 2 weeks learning more about what humanity had become. The Exodus fleet settled at the edge of council space in a region of empty systems that no one had claimed. Sthal visited their ships regularly, and each time he was amazed. He met Captain Marcus Chen, commander of an exploration vessel called the Wanderer. Marcus was younger than Elena with quick eyes and an easy smile. He took Stal through his ship, showing him technology that seemed like magic. This is our primary power source, Marcus explained, gesturing to a core that hummed with strange energy. We call it a zero-point reactor. It pulls energy from the quantum foam of space itself. Limitless power, no fuel needed. How did you develop such technology? Stal asked, making notes on his data pad. Necessity, Marcus said simply. In the void, there is no sunlight for solar panels, no fuel to mine, no resources at all. We had to learn to create energy from nothing. It took us 200 years and countless failures, but we figured it out. Stal met scientists who could manipulate gravity like it was clay. Engineers who grew ships using genetically modified organisms. Doctors who had cured diseases that the rest of the galaxy still struggled with. Soldiers who trained in combat simulations more realistic than actual battle. But what impressed him most was their culture. Despite 800 years of hardship, humans had not become cruel or cold. They laughed easily, helped each other with. We survived because we stayed human, Elena explained one evening over dinner in her quarters. We could have become ruthless. We could have sacrificed our values for efficiency. Many people suggested it, but we refused because what is the point of surviving if you lose everything that makes you who you are? Stal was about to respond when alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Elena jumped to her feet, running for the bridge. Stal followed her. On the bridge, the crew was moving with frantic efficiency. Captain Chen stood at the command console, his face pale. What is it? Elena demanded. Long-range sensors picked up a distress call from the Vidian Prime system, Marcus reported. Something attacked the planet. The message was, Ambassador, you need to hear this. He played the recording. The voice was panicked, screaming over the sound of explosions and dying screams. Asterisk, this is Vidian Prime. We are under attack. Unknown vessels not responding to hails. They are not taking prisoners. They are harvesting us. Please, anyone help us. They are, asterisk, the message cut off with a horrible sound that made Stal's blood run cold. Get me visual, Elena ordered. The main screen showed Vidian Prime. Stal had visited the planet once. It was beautiful with sprawling cities and blue oceans. Now it was burning. Enormous black ships hung in orbit, beams of energy descending to the surface. Where the beams touched, everything was being pulled upward into the ships, buildings, vehicles, people. What are those things? Marcus whispered. Elena leaned forward, her hands gripping the console. Her face had gone white. Reapers. You know these ships. We encountered them beyond the rim. Ancient machines billions of years old. They were created by a dead civilization to terraform planets. But something went wrong. They became corrupted. Now they harvest all biological life, break it down to raw materials, and use it to build more of themselves. Elena turned to Marcus. How many ships? Sensors show 12 in orbit. But Marcus, there are 3 more groups detected in nearby systems, and they are all moving toward inhabited worlds. Stal felt like his heart had stopped. How many Reapers total? At least 40 that we can detect, but there could be more. These things are incredibly hard to scan. Elena activated her communication device. This is Ambassador Vasquez to all fleet commanders. Code Black, I repeat, Code Black. We have Reaper incursion in Council space. All vessels are to proceed to maximum alert. Prepare for combat operations. She turned to Marcus. How fast can we reach Vidian Prime? 30 minutes if we push the engines. Do it. And send a priority message to the Council. Tell them they have a threat that makes our differences look like children fighting over toys. Meanwhile, at the Council station, panic had set in. Counselor Vexner stood in the emergency command center, watching reports flood in from multiple systems. The Reapers were hitting everywhere at once. How is this possible? One counselor demanded. Where did these ships come from? Unknown, a technician reported. They just appeared at the edges of multiple systems and began their attacks. Our defense fleets are responding. But what? They are barely slowing them down. Council weapons are having minimal effect. The Reaper hulls are regenerating damage almost as fast as we can inflict it. Crike's hologram appeared. And for once, the war leader was not smiling. My fleets are engaging the Reapers in the Talver system. We have lost 6 warships already. These things are unlike anything we have ever fought. The humans, Vexner said suddenly. They said they know these machines. They fought them before. Then contact them, another counselor shouted. Ask for their help. Why should we? Demanded a tall representative. They are the ones who brought this plague back with them. The Reapers must have followed them from the void. Ambassador Silitha's voice cut through the arguing. It does not matter who brought them or how they arrived. What matters is stopping them before they harvest our entire civilization. Pride will not save us. Politics will not save us. We need help and the humans are offering it. A message appeared on the main screen. It was from Elena Vasquez. Her face was grave. Counselors, we are en route to Vidian Prime. We will engage the Reapers there. I need you to understand something. These machines are ancient and incredibly dangerous. We have fought them before and we barely survived. To stop them, we need to hit their command vessel. They are a networked intelligence. Destroy the primary hub and the rest will shut down. But getting to that hub will require going through their entire fleet. How many ships do you need? Vexner asked. All of them, Elena said bluntly. Every vessel you can spare. This is not going to be a small battle. This is going to be the largest military engagement in galactic history, and even then we might lose. You want us to trust you, Crike said, his voice heavy with suspicion. You who just arrived. You who destroyed my base. Elena's expression softened slightly. War leader Crike, I know we started badly. I know you see us as a threat, but right now the Reapers are killing billions of your people and mine. Put aside your hatred for one day. Help us stop this threat. Afterward, if you still want to fight us, we will deal with that then. The council chamber was silent. Then Crike spoke, his voice reluctant but firm. Very well. The Krith fleet will join you. But this does not mean I trust you, human. I do not need your trust, Elena replied. I just need your guns. Vidian Prime is dying. Every second we waste is more lives lost. So, let me ask you all a simple question. Are you going to help us save them or are you going to let pride and fear kill billions? One by one, the counselors voted. It was unanimous. Every species would send their fleets to join the humans. As the meeting ended, Stal approached Elena privately. You said you barely survived fighting these things before. What are our chances? Elena looked out at the stars, her expression distant. Honestly? Maybe 50-50. The Reapers are adaptive. They learn from every battle. They will be prepared for the tactics we used before. We will need to be creative, unpredictable, and very, very brave. That does not sound reassuring. Elena smiled grimly. It is not meant to be. But let me tell you something about humans, Stal. We do not fight because we think we can win. We fight because it is the right thing to do. We fight because someone has to. And we fight because giving up is not in our nature. She put a hand on his shoulder. Go back to the council station. Stay safe. This is going to get very bloody before it is over. No, Stal said firmly. I am coming with you. You will need someone who understands both humans and the other species. You will need a translator, a liaison. You will need me. Elena studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Welcome to the crew of the Wanderer, liaison Thal. Try not to die. I have grown fond of you. As the human fleet moved toward Vidian Prime, Thal stood on the bridge next to Captain Marcus Chen. Ahead of them, the Reaper vessels hung in space like dark gods of death, consuming an entire planet. And toward them came the combined might of the Galactic Council, led by humans, who had survived 800 years in the void. The battle for Vidian Prime was about to begin. And the galaxy would never be the same. The combined fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vidian Prime system. Thal had never seen so many ships in one place. Human vessels mixed with Krith warships, Srathi cruisers, Lumina lightcraft, and representatives from every council species. Thousands of vessels all pointed toward one goal. On the Wanderer's bridge, Captain Marcus Chen studied the tactical display. The Reapers had 12 massive ships in orbit around Vidian Prime. Each one was as large as a human generation ship, black as space itself, covered in symbols that hurt to look at for too long. Life signs on the planet? Marcus asked. The sensor officer shook her head, her expression grim. Down to 30%. The Reapers have been harvesting for 6 hours. If we do not stop them soon. She did not need to finish. Everyone understood. Vidian Prime had a population of 3 billion. 2 billion were already dead. Ambassador Elena Vasquez's face appeared on the communication screen. She was on the flagship Perseverance with the fleet admiral. All ships, this is Vasquez. I am transferring tactical control to Admiral Sarah Okonkwo. Listen to her orders. Follow her lead and remember, we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for everyone who cannot fight back. A new face appeared. Admiral Okonkwo was an older woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much death. Her uniform was covered in medals from battles Thal had never heard of. When she spoke, her voice was steady and absolute. All vessels, this is Admiral Okonkwo. Here is how this will work. The Reapers fight as a networked intelligence. They share data instantly. That is their strength and their weakness. We need to identify the command vessel, fight through their defenses, and destroy it. When the command ship dies, the rest will shut down. Simple in theory. Hell in practice. The display showed their battle formation. The human warships would form the spearhead, using their advanced weapons to punch through the Reaper defenses. The Krith vessels would provide heavy firepower on the flanks. The other species would protect the civilian evacuation ships trying to reach the planet's surface. One more thing, Admiral Okonkwo said, her voice softening slightly. Some of you do not trust us. Some of you fear us. Some of you hate us. I understand. But today, none of that matters. Today, we are all on the same side. Today, we show these ancient machines what living beings can do when they stand together. Today we fight not as separate species but as one galaxy. Are you with me? The communication channels exploded with affirmative responses. War cries in a dozen languages. Promises of victory. Declarations of courage. Then let us begin, the Admiral said. All ships attack formation. Engage the enemy. The fleet surged forward like a living thing. The Reapers responded immediately, turning away from the dying planet to face this new threat. Energy beams lanced out from the black ships, weapons that could boil away a vessel's armor in seconds. The first ships to die were Krith warships, their shields overwhelmed by the sheer power of the Reaper weapons. But even as they fell, they fired back, their weapons scarring the black hulls of the ancient machines. Evasive maneuvers. Marcus shouted as a Reaper beam swept toward the Wanderer. The ship twisted in space, the beam passing close enough that Thal could feel the heat through the hull. Human vessels began deploying their special weapons. Quantum torpedoes that phased through normal matter and exploded inside the Reaper hulls. Gravity mines that created localized black holes. Electromagnetic pulse bombs that disrupted the Reaper's communication. "It is working," the tactical officer shouted. "Reaper Vessel 3 has lost cohesion. Its hull is breaking apart." But the celebration was short-lived. The other Reapers adapted instantly. Their shields changed frequency. Their hulls became resistant to quantum weapons. They learned and evolved in real time. "This is why they are so dangerous," Elena's voice came over the communication channel. She had transferred to a combat shuttle and was coordinating the close-range fighters. "They adapt to everything. We need to keep changing our tactics. Keep them off balance." Stal watched the battle unfold with growing horror. Ships were dying by the dozen. He saw a Srothy cruiser torn in half by Reaper weapons. A Lumina lightcraft dissolved into energy as a beam cut through it. 3 human warships sacrificed themselves to destroy a single Reaper, ramming it with such force that both attacker and defender were obliterated. "Casualties are mounting," Marcus said grimly, reading reports. "We have lost over 200 vessels. The Reapers have lost only 2. Can we win this?" Stal asked quietly. Marcus did not answer immediately. When he did, his voice was honest. "I do not know, but we have to try." Admiral Okonkwo's voice cut through the chaos. All ships focused fire on Reaper Vessel 7. Sensors indicate it has the most communication traffic. It might be the command ship. The entire fleet turned their weapons on one massive black ship. Thousands of energy beams, missiles, and exotic weapons converged on a single target. The Reaper's shields flared, struggling to handle the overwhelming firepower. Cracks appeared in its hull. Then, with a flash of light, it exploded. For a moment, there was hope. But the other Reapers did not shut down. They did not even slow. Instead, they seemed to get angrier. "It was not the command ship," Elena reported, her shuttle dodging debris. "But we proved they can be killed. Keep hitting them." The battle continued, hour after hour of desperate fighting. The Allied fleet was slowly being ground down. For every Reaper destroyed, they lost 50 ships. The mathematics were brutal. Stal found himself working alongside the human crew, his archaeological knowledge proving useful in unexpected ways. When the tactical computer could not identify a Reaper weak point, Stal recognized symbols on its hull from his studies. Ancient warning markers that indicated power conduits. "Marcus, if we hit that section there," he pointed at the display. "We might cause a cascade failure." Marcus did not question him. He simply gave the order. Human fighters dove toward the indicated section, their weapons focused. The attack worked. The Reaper buckled, its power systems failing. "Good eye, Stal," Marcus said, grinning despite the desperate situation. But they were still losing. The Allied fleet was down to less than half strength. The Reapers had lost only 6 vessels. Then something changed. War leader Crike's flagship, the Blood Hammer, broke formation. It accelerated directly toward the largest Reaper, the one in the center of their formation. "What is he doing?" Elena demanded over the communication channel. "Crike, fall back." The war leader's voice boomed across all channels. "All my life, I have sought glory in battle. I have conquered worlds. I have defeated enemies. But I have never fought for anything greater than myself. Today I fight for the galaxy. Today I find true honor." The Blood Hammer smashed into the massive Reaper at full speed. The impact was catastrophic. Both ships exploded in a fireball that lit up the entire system. And then all at once, every Reaper stopped moving. "What happened?" someone shouted. Admiral Okonkwo's voice was filled with grim understanding. Crike found it. That was the command vessel. He sacrificed himself and his entire crew to destroy it. Across the fleet, weapons fell silent. The floating Reaper vessels were dark, lifeless. The networked intelligence that had controlled them was gone. The ancient machines were finally dead. But the cost had been terrible. Stal looked at the casualty report scrolling across the screens. Over 4,000 ships destroyed, millions of personnel dead, entire fleets wiped out. And Vidian Prime, the planet that started this all. Only 800 million people had survived. 2.2 billion were gone. In the days that followed, the galaxy mourned and rebuilt. Memorial services were held across 1,000 worlds. The Krith Empire, shocked by the loss of their leader, called for a ceasefire. Other species who had opposed humanity's return now welcomed them. Stal stood in the rebuilt council chamber 1 month after the battle. The room was full, but there were many empty seats. So many counselors had died in the fighting. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood before the council, her uniform bearing a new medal. The Medal of Sacrifice, given to those who had fought at Vidian Prime. Nearly everyone in the room wore one. The Battle of Vidian Prime showed us something important, Elena said, her voice carrying through the silent chamber. It showed us that our differences are small compared to the threats we face together. Humans, Krith, Vidian, Sarai, Lumina. All of us bled the same color when those machines attacked. All of us felt the same fear, and all of us found the same courage. Counselor Vexner stood, his scales duller than before. He had lost family on Vidian Prime. Ambassador Vasquez, the council has deliberated. We wish to offer humanity full membership with equal representation. We wish to propose a new organization, a unified defense force that can respond to threats like the Reapers. And we wish to ask for your help in rebuilding what was lost. Elena nodded slowly. We accept all of it. But we have one request in return. Name it. Let us go home. Let us return to Earth. Let us see if our home world can be restored. 2 weeks later, Stal found himself standing on the surface of Earth for the first time. He had volunteered to join the expedition, partly out of scientific curiosity, partly because he wanted to see where humanity had come from. The planet was not as he had imagined. 800 years of abandonment had changed it. Nature had reclaimed the cities. Forests grew through the ruins of skyscrapers. Oceans had risen and fallen. But the sun that had been dying, now burned steady and bright. The sun repaired itself, Dr. Sarah Chen explained. She was a descendant of the scientist who had written about the last days of Earth. The models were wrong. The instability was temporary. Earth could have been saved. Elena stood nearby, tears running down her face as she looked at the sky. All those people. All those years in the void. And we could have stayed. No, Stal said firmly. If you had stayed, you would have died in the void of despair, waiting for a sun that you thought would kill you. You left because you had hope. You survived because you refused to give up. And you came back stronger, wiser, and ready to help others. There are no wasted journeys, Elena. Only different paths to the same destination. Captain Marcus Chen joined them, his boots crunching on the grass that grew through the ancient streets. The terraforming team says they can restore Earth in 20 years. Make it livable again. We could have a real home world again. And we will share it, Elena decided. Earth will not belong only to humans. It will be a symbol, a reminder that no matter how far we fall, we can come back. A place where all species can visit and remember that we survived together. 3 years later, the first new child was born on Earth since the Exodus. Her name was Hope, and she was human. She would grow up on a world that had been dead and was now alive again. She would grow up in a galaxy that had been divided and was now united. Stal attended the birth as a representative of the council. He held the tiny baby girl in his arms and marveled at how something so small could represent something so large. "She is beautiful," he said to her parents. "She is our future," the mother replied. "She will never know what it is like to be hunted, to be refugees, to fight for survival every day. Because of what we did. Because of what we all did." That evening, Stal stood with Elena and Marcus at a memorial built on Earth's surface. It was a simple structure made of stone and metal, inscribed with the names of everyone who had died in the Exodus and in the Battle of Vidian Prime. Billions of names. But every single one remembered. "Do you regret coming back?" Stal asked Elena. She thought about it for a long moment, looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, the human fleet was patrolling, working alongside ships from every council species. Somewhere up there, new friendships were being forged. New alliances created, new possibilities opened. "No," she finally said. "We came back to find a galaxy that feared us. We showed them who we really are. Not monsters from legend, not gods from myth. Just people who refused to quit. People who chose to help even when it cost us everything. The galaxy is safer now." Marcus added, "The defense force we created means no planet will face threats alone. Human technology is being shared freely. We are teaching others what we learned in the void." "And what did you learn?" Stal asked. Elena smiled, her eyes reflecting the light of Earth's restored sun. "We learned that hope is not something you find. It is something you carry. We learned that home is not a place, it is a feeling. We learned that the only way to survive impossible odds is to refuse to believe they are impossible. And most importantly, we learned that being human is not about being perfect or being powerful. It is about being stubborn enough to care even when caring hurts." Stal wrote her words down in his journal. Someday he would write a history of this time. He would tell the story of how humanity returned from the void. How they faced hatred and fear with patience. How they fought monsters to save people who had wronged them. How they turned enemies into allies. He would call it The Legends Were Real. But the truth was better. Because that was what he had learned. Humans were not the perfect warriors of legend. They were not unstoppable super beings. They were flawed, frightened people who simply refused to stop trying, and that made them more remarkable than any legend ever could. As the sun set on Earth for the first time with witnesses in over 800 years, Stal looked at his friends and knew something with absolute certainty. The galaxy had been lucky. Lucky that humans chose hope over hatred. Lucky that they chose to save rather than conquer. Lucky that when they came back from the void, they came back as helpers, not as monsters. But it was not luck that made them that way. It was choice. A choice made every day by billions of people who decided that surviving meant nothing if you lost your soul doing it. The legend said humans were warriors. They were right. But they missed the most important part. Humans were warriors who fought for peace, survivors who saved others, heroes who never wanted to be heroes. They were just people doing what needed to be done because no one else could. And that, Stal realized as he watched Hope's parents carry her toward her new home on a restored Earth, was more powerful than any legend. Humanity had endured. The galaxy was better for it. And the future, for the first time in a long time, was bright. The story of humanity's return would be told for generations. But the best part of the story was not the ending. It was what came after. It was the billion small moments of cooperation, friendship, and shared hope that followed. It was the knowledge that no matter how dark the void, light could return. No matter how impossible the odds, survival was possible. And no matter how alone you felt, you were part of something larger. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not weapons, not technology, but proof that endurance was possible. That hope was worth fighting for. That coming home was always worth the journey. The legends were real. But the truth, as always, was so much better.